This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. If you thought the Speaker of the House's decision to release the 44,000 hours of video footage of Jan 6 insurrectionists attacking the Capitol was an isolated incident and not linked to Donald Trump's strategy and his cases, his criminal cases, then you'll be in for, a shock that there's a link between the hand-picked Speaker of the House, Mike Lee, that Donald Trump approved of, his decision in order to get the votes and then to use it for fundraising purposes to release the 44,000 hours of video footage at a filing made just before Thanksgiving by Donald Trump in the D.C. election interference case in front of Judge Chutkan, where he's requesting 57 categories of new information to try to prove his case that Donald Trump didn't want to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power. All he cared about was foreign interference with the election and trying to defend democracy against foreign interference by Iranians, by Chinese, by Venezuelans, and by Cubans, right? You know why that's the first you've ever heard of that? Because those statements, those comments that I just made were never made by Donald Trump at or about the time. There's not one recording or report of conversations between Donald Trump, election officials, elected officials, the vice president, or anybody else never came up in the Jan 6 reporting either that he was trying to fly the flag of protecting the Union from election interference by foreign operatives. You know why? Because it's not true. But in order to delay the trial, because he's staring down the barrel of a trial in March. Right, that's a freight train without a brake that's heading for Donald Trump. Now his lawyers are getting around in November, just a few months before the trial, to ask for 57 categories of new information, which is on the heels of Mike Lee's release of the 44,000 hours of video footage. Those hours are already being cherry-picked and selective clips are being pulled out by different people trying to argue they see different things. And it was really a false flag event, an insider job by FBI agents conspiring with Joe Biden in order to attack the cradle of our democracy, disguised as Trump supporters. Yes, that's it. It must be it. Look at that guy over there flashing a badge. He's an FBI agent. No, Marjorie Taylor Greene. He is an air conditioning repair person that has a vape pen in his hand that didn't stop a MAGA senator from saying, oh, we need to get to the bottom of how many law enforcement were directing traffic during Jan 6th. I have an answer to that. None. Now, that is going on, that whole MAGA world of, there were ghost buses of FBI agents that went to the Capitol. False. That there were a Proud Boy was working for the FBI and he was helping to organize the attack. False. And that guy testified about that at trial already. We already talked about the badge. Now, the former... and that there were former FBI informants that were present and that were, again, an insider job on Jan 6th. All false. In fact, Steve D'Antuono, the FBI director, Field Office DC, testified before the House in June that there were a handful of former FBI informants, drug and violent crime informants, that on their own, because they have the First Amendment right to attend rallies, happened to be there, but it wasn't at the direction of the FBI. Completely refutes the scurrilous attacks that this is an insider false flag event led by the Democrats or Joe Biden. But that doesn't stop Marjorie Taylor Greene and Senator Mike Lee and others from using it. Now it's come full circle. Now, after Donald Trump blew the whistle and had Mike Lee release the footage, now his lawyers are in court asking for all of the information about undercover FBI agents within 5 miles who just happened to be in the neighborhood of the DC attack, on the Jan 6th attack. And while we're at it, they also are asking for, in their 57 categories of information made at this late date, they want everything about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Why not? They want Trump's White House scheduling diary. They want any kind of, they want documents pertaining to Russia meddling in the 2020 election. This from a guy, Trump, who claimed it was false and that there was no election interference in 2016 against him, and that the Mueller report was false. But now, of course, it happened 4 years later, right? They didn't do it during his election to get him elected. The Russians and the Chinese suddenly wanted Joe Biden elected. Does that make any sense? But to Donald Trump, let's get to the bottom of the 2020 election interference. There wasn't any when I was elected. There must be some now because I lost. So we'll go after that. Let's look at whether there's been any kind of meddling, Chinese hacking, Russian and Iranian meddling, Cuban meddling in the election computers. We know the answer to that is no, because there was a head of cybersecurity, Chris Krebs, who already testified to that. And he wants to know again about all the undercover agents, all of them deployed around the DC at the day of Jan 6th and other things. Now, why is he trying to do this, right? Does he really want all this information? Does he really think it's going to help his election, his defense that he interfered with the election? No. He wants to delay, because if the judge buys into this and or holds an evidentiary hearing on it and or a briefing on it, now we're in January, maybe February. Trial's supposed to start in March. And if somehow she were to grant his request for any of this information, then of course they'll say, oh, we need to get to the bottom of the false flag insider job at we got to look through 44,000 hours of video footage. We can't do it by March, Judge. Push it off until after the election, hoping that if he gets elected, then he'll move for a stay, arguing he's now the president of the United States and he can't be bothered with being tried for crimes after he left office or while he was still in office. So this is we're calling it out now because this is what we're watching, right? This is the strategy. Use Congress and MAGA as puppets to do your bidding. Feed notes to Marjorie Taylor Greene and to Matt Gaetz and to Mike Lee and to all the others and have them hold trumped up hearings and fake hearings and try to pin down Joe Biden in phony impeachment proceedings. So Congress is helping him run interference. They can't pass legislation, right? They don't have the political will to do that. So just do Donald Trump's bidding and help him get back into power and everybody will be rewarded. And then let's get Mike Lee, who's the only speaker, the only reason he got elected is on the promise that he would release this footage. And then he released the footage, said he's a true American, but can you also send me fundraising money? So it was a fundraising appeal. And then right on the heels of that, Donald Trump and his lawyers, right on cue, argue they need the footage. They need to get to the bottom of the false flag event. And by the way, what about all those Chinese, Iranians, Russians, and others that are interfering in the 2020 election? All debunked, all refuted by Department of Justice, by the cybersecurity unit, by Homeland Security, and everybody else. So Donald Trump likes to say that Sidney Powell is a crackpot, the lawyer that he relied on for all these things, the Venezuelan conspiracy, the China conspiracy, the Russian conspiracy about election equipment. But he's quoting from her, basically. He's taking a page out of her crackpot book in their latest filing. So Judge Chutkan's got a lot on her hands and a lot on her head. We appreciate how soberly she's adjudicating all of these issues. But then anything that they don't like, Donald Trump takes up on an appeal. Now, he often and most frequently loses these appeals, but it burns the candle, right? It wastes time. It sucks the oxygen out of the room, and that's the strategy. We're going to call it out for what it is right here on the MeidasTouch Network. On Legal AF, the leading podcast at the intersection of law, politics, and justice that we curate for you every Wednesday and Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you like this kind of work I'm doing, give me a thumbs up. Helps with the ratings, helps keep me on the air. Until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.